What's up, my PT peeps? One Eye Bri back to talk about the Walking Dead theory that Carl is telling the story of the Walking Dead. Spoiler warning ahead if you don't know the show or up to date of the show, the comics. We're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. So spoilers are coming for the comics, the show, seasons 1 through 7, and the comics up to date. So stop watching now if you don't want to know. Basically, Carl has been around from the very beginning. He's been a member of the group. He's Atlanta 5, Atlanta 4, whatever you want to call him now. Carl is possibly telling the story of The Walking Dead, and we'll talk about why that makes sense. Carl Grimes and Chandler Riggs have been around since the very beginning. The first season to season 7, and a lot of stuff has happened, and Carl's been involved with it, or could hear the story from his dad. Like, he wasn't there when Rick got out of the hospital, or maybe he's embellishing some of the stories there. I don't know. He could be talking to the group that he's at, and that would be a pretty cool way to end it. Like I said, he's been involved in a lot of different things, from the camp outside of Atlanta season 1 to the farm of season 2, the prison is season 3. He kills Shane in the comic. He kills zombie Shane in the show. And again, he's involved with so many different things. He's in the lineup. He's, involved with Sophia. He knows a lot of material that he could pass along in a story to his group that he survives everyone. A lot of people think he's going to be one of the sole survivors, and I believe so. He has to outlive Rick, right? So he could talk about his mother and Judith and the baby and his dad and the group at the prison, how they were, what he's had to go through. And he becomes the leader after Rick eventually dies, because Rick Grimes can't be around forever, right? So I would think on the comic, and that's what they're talking about. In the show, we'll see what they do, if they're going to end it, be forever. Maybe it's a movie, maybe it's not. We'll see. But again, he has all these different things that he's been a part of. You don't really realize, because Carl's always there, at least for the big stuff. Like Joe, when Joe's group attacks Rick and Michonne to get even with Rick, and Daryl's there, and then when they go outside of Terminus and they're talking, and then in Terminus and everything, and it's great, but Carl is involved. He is involved with so many things, and he just has the material, or could be making stuff up to his whatever, but his dad could be telling him stuff like early on when he wasn't around or whatever. But Terminus was huge. He was involved with that, of course. Then they escape and they get out, and they're talking about that. So many things Carl's involved in. You don't really think about it on the show, but that'd be a nice way to end the show, end the series, end a movie, end something, or then restart it with Carl being the leader and a new threat and new problem going forward. Who knows? Look at all the different group. He's involved right in there, It's kind of crazy to think that he knew all these people. Carl's going to probably outlive them all. Who do you think survives? Do you think he's alone? Do you think Daryl's with him? Do you think other people are there? New people that we'll meet? Jesus? Michonne? Who knows? I think it'd be great. I think it'd be awesome. It's got the pudding house to talk about, all these different things, all this different material that's happening that he's just relaying in a big old story, or different sections of a story, talking about the different times with his dad. Maybe he's talking to Judith. Maybe he's talking to another group that he's around, that he's the leader of. Maybe a bunch of kids. Who knows? He's been through a bunch of things, and he's been through so much that we haven't seen on the show, but he have in the comics. I could see him sitting down with Judith and telling her the story of what they've been through, and who his dad was, and who her mom was, and everything. It's kind of cool to think about it. I thought that'd be a good way to end the series or the show into a movie, or like I said. But Carl has been through so much with Negan now. He's got a big storyline coming up. He's involved with it. He's right in the center of everything, right? So he could just relay all the information there. I could just see it at the end. I know. What do you think it is? How do you think The Walking Dead will end? If it will ever end. If they take a break and they come back. Carl gets frustrated with everything right now, and he could say, I've been through tough times. I've been through this before. We can get through anything. He's the new leader of the group down the road. Who knows? But that's what Kirkman said, that he could take over the comic role. Probably just the comic, not the show. I could see Carl being the leader in the comics down the road, maybe issue 200 or something. Who knows? Carl's been through it. Look at the different similarities. A little kid to now. He's had a big change of who he is in the comic and the show, and it's great. If you don't like Chandler Riggs or not, I think he's doing well for it. He is a teenager, and his acting ability is coming around, but I think they're giving him more and more material. Can you see old man Carl here? I can. I want to give props to the artist. I don't know who it is, but whoever did it, it's pretty freaking awesome. But you see Carl here having everyone's weapons. He outlives everybody. You see he's got the hat, he's got Michonne's katana, he's got Rick's gun, and he's got Lucille. Lucille, spoiler alert, is broken, and they just broke in the last comic, but pretty recent comic, so that might not happen. But if Carl looked like this in a movie or badass down the road or something in the comic, that'd be pretty awesome. That'd be a good way to wrap it up. At least one chapter of The Walking Dead, maybe the show, maybe part of the comics. Rick's maybe gone, maybe Rick's maybe dead, maybe he's an old man, he can't really lead anymore and he's just there too. That's a good rendition of what he would look like on the show from the comic, because in the comic he only has one hand. In the show they didn't do that, of course, because it'd be too much blue screen and green screen and cost him a fortune. But I hope eventually he does lose his hand on the show towards the end of it, when he's going to die or the show's coming down or series coming to an end. Will he end up with Enid? I could see Carl talking with Enid and Judith, or maybe a different woman or a different whatever, telling him the story of everything, because Enid only came around in his life kind of midway through the series. Maybe he's with Lydia, maybe not. If you know the comics, Lydia doesn't really work out too much, so then maybe he goes back to Enid on the show, or maybe it's Sophia, because Sophia is in the comic and not Enid on there too. So there's just some theories, just some possibilities. We'll have to see how it plays out, but that'd be a good theory, that Carl is running the show and leading and talking about The Walking Dead and telling the story of it, because he's in the comic, he's a big part of the comic. We're getting closer to the end of this Whisperer War, and I think Carl's going to end up leading the survivors down the road. And just love this picture right here, guys. So there you go, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Tell us what you think of the theory. How do you think the show's going to end, the comic's going to end, or whatever, how they're going to wrap up the series? Is Carl telling the story of The Walking Dead? Let us know what you think of our theory, and thank you guys for watching.